is Amber, and today I'm going to talk about Thanksgiving. It's really the only food tradition that I follow, and the only time where I eat like traditional foods. So I went vegan at the age of 17, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, which was kind of a big deal to my family. So it's kind of significant for me, and it's something that is fairly new with the types of foods that I eat for the traditions since that diet change. My family was Seventh-Day Adventist, so we already didn't really have as much of a traditional Thanksgiving as others, but we did eat what's called clean meats. You can look at our beliefs at Adventist.org, I think. I will link it in the references, so if you want to look at those, you can. So we ate turkey, but it was kind of a bigger deal to eat a vegetarian loaf from Worthington's. That was something everybody wanted to eat and was a tradition. But it does have eggs and milk in it, so it's no longer a tradition I follow. And my grandma would make canned green bean casserole, and it has a lot of dairy in it, so it is not something I eat that way anymore. And I think my step grandpa would make like scalloped potatoes with lots of cheese, jalapenos, and dairy. I don't really make that in a vegan version. I don't eat the original. And 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I went vegan and I didn't eat the Worthington's veggie loaf or the turkey that my dad and brother had made. So it was a big deal, big turning point in my life. I have been vegan since. I'm 30 years old now, so almost 13 years. And I don't have any other food tradition. The Seventh-Day Adventists don't have food traditions. We eat a lot of Loma Linda vegetarian foods, haystacks, but they're not necessarily food traditions, just common foods that we eat. So that was the only time that we ate traditional foods. And then I did try out a recipe of my own for vegan green bean casserole in, I think, 2014. I decided to not go back to college and figure myself out. I left the country. My aunt is a cardiologist in Malawi, and so I decided to go where I had some family and do independent missionary work there for 3 months during the fall. So during Thanksgiving, one of the doctors at the hospital she worked at threw a Thanksgiving party, and they eat a lot of meat there. I wasn't sure what I was going to be able to eat, so I went to the market and kind of bartered for different vegetables and decided to go with green beans. And I made totally from scratch, from homegrown fruits and vegetables from the local market. I made vegan green bean casserole. I've made a little bit of changes to that recipe since, but everyone absolutely loved it. Their favorite thing about it was that they didn't get sick after eating too much of it because there wasn't any dairy in it. So I wanted to include a little bit of history about Thanksgiving before I move on and talk about the recipe and the traditional foods that I eat now, being vegan. So everyone kind of knows the history of Thanksgiving. So in 1620, pilgrims came to Plymouth. They didn't really do very well, and Native Americans gave them some crops, taught them how to grow them, and by the next fall, they threw a harvest festival. I don't necessarily think it's like the Thanksgiving we celebrate, and it became popular every year since, and then was turned into an official holiday later on, and I'll include some references about that. I read about it from a historical book that I really preferred to other histories about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, the Biography of an American Holiday by James Baker. He talks about how the very nice look we have on the historical Thanksgiving negatively affects people learning about the real history of Native Americans, so I would recommend giving it a read. And then regarding green bean casserole, a lot of people know this history too, but Dorcas Riley published the recipe in 1955, but I'm not sure if any of you have heard about the political history. She was requested to make the recipe at Campbell's by Cecily Brownstone because an Iranian queen had like a green bean dish, and the person wanted to write about it and needed a recipe to go with it. But it wasn't put on the Campbell's soup can until 1960, and by then it was a popular Thanksgiving dish. So I make it with 1 part flour, 1 part olive oil, and a ton of nutritional yeast, and I make a roux out of that, and then add vegetable broth and sautéed onions and mushrooms. I pour that over boiled green beans with crispy onions on top, with black pepper, rosemary, and thyme that I've roasted, and it's good to go. And I don't really make any other traditional Thanksgiving foods anymore. I just kind of throw together like boiled potatoes, frozen mac and cheese, that it's vegan, buns. But it's really nice to get together and eat food that everyone likes. But mostly just for that reason, I don't really celebrate Thanksgiving because of the history in that kind of way. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed.